We got to hand it over to Ford EcoSport for introducing us to the compact SUV segment. After that, there have been many launches from various manufacturers, and one such manufacturer is Renault, who was actually left behind in this compact SUV race. But over the years, Renault actually realized this absence, this vacuum in this very lucrative space, and they have come up with the Renault Kiger, which promises to fill the gap for them. We have taken the car in the countryside of Tamil Nadu to find out if it's worth the tag of the compact SUV, if such a word exists, or it's just another raced hatchback. Hello and welcome to Shutterdrives. This is Zahur Hassan and we have the all new Renault Kiger 1 litre manual transmission for the review. One of the USPs of the Kiger has to be its bold and imposing stance. The car has a really good ground clearance coupled with 16 inches of wheels on which it rides, making it look bold and sporty at the same time. Starting off with, you have the sleek DRLs here which occupy the conventional space of headlamps in other cars, and there's a chrome grille running in between the Renault logo which makes it look very premium at the same time. That said, the usage of chrome in this car is minimalistic and Renault has not gone overboard with that usage, which Indians love, but normally enthusiasts try to refrain from excessive usage of chrome. And apart from that, you get LED headlamps here which are quite powerful. I'll show you the sample pictures here, but yesterday we tested them out and the LED headlamps are really good at illuminating the road greatly. And you have the proud Renault logo which is housed here, and in my humble opinion it looks bigger than what it should have been, and thus diluting the stance the front could have otherwise provided had the logo been slightly smaller. And you also get a functional air dam, which means that the air will pass from here all the way to the engine, because this is an internal combustion engine and thankfully not an electric car. That said, the front of the car looks really nice and plumpy and goes with the overall theme in which the Kiger has been designed. Moving to the side of the car, the first thing that you instantly notice is the dual tone color that this paint scheme has to offer, and this is the top of the line RXZ variant. There is a roof rail which is thankfully functional, and that contrasts with the roof, making it look very sporty at the same time. And then you have the pull type door handles which are very easy and nice to operate. Unfortunately, you do not get a request sensor here, and the mirrors are blacked out. And more importantly, this car rides on 16 inches of alloy wheels, and these alloy wheels look really smart on this car. I think the rear of the Kiger is bolder than the front, mainly because of the superbly integrated C-shaped LED tail lamps which this car has to offer. And in my humble opinion, these give you a 3D effect and they look really nice on this bold stance of this car. And there's a turbo badging here, which means that you're driving a 1.0 litre turbocharged petrol engine in this car, which we will talk about of course during the course of the drive. And there's a thin chrome strip running on the tailgate, in fact across the tailgate, which adds to the premium quotient apart from the boldly avatar, which is carried forward by the spoiler which is there here with an integrated stop lamp. That said, you just get one parking sensor here. I would have preferred if we had a couple of parking sensors more for better accuracy in the parking results. And there is a silver cladding provided for the rear bumper which resonates with the overall sporty characteristics of the car. So this is how you open the boot of the car, and you will be surprised with the boot space that is actually there in the Kiger. It's more than adequate for you to carry a couple of weekend bags or weekend trolleys or whatever you want to call it. More importantly, there's a parcel tray which turned out to be quite helpful today in accommodating some of the space here. Another thing that I want to point out is the loading bay is quite deep here, which means that apart from the boot space that you see here, you can actually stuff in a couple of extra things here on the lower part of this boot. The utilization of space has been adequate in the Kiger. Here, so we're driving the Renault Kiger 1.0 MT, which is a turbo petrol engine. So first things first, it's a 3-cylinder engine, and that gets quite evident with the NVH levels that this car desires. It's not the smoothest of the smoothest of all, and you do get to realize that you're driving a 3-cylinder car and not a 4-cylinder car, which are generally much more refined, especially in the sport mode. So talking about the modes, there are 3 driving modes here which you can select from the drive knob here. There is normal, eco and sport. Eco, as it suggests, is focused towards churning out every single drop of fuel economy, and this is the normal mode that we are currently driving in. Okay, this is the Eco mode that we are currently driving in. So I'll switch to the sport mode now, and what happens in sport mode is the engine gets quite vocal, little vocal. It gets considerably vocal. While this may be good, assuming that you're going to get a taste of a sportier exhaust, a sportier car overall, but since it's a 3-cylinder engine, the noise is a bit way too much in the sport mode. So as you can see, we're closing down to 5000 rpm here, and the vocals from the engine is quite a lot, which gets a bit annoying after some time. And apart from that, you have the normal mode, which is actually a mix of both Eco and sport mode. And I think normal mode is the one that you would prefer driving most of the time, unless until you really want to drive this car in Eco mode. And talking about the steering feedback really varies with modes, and that's really nice because there are some cars where the steering is barely affected when you change the driving mode, but that's not the case with Kiger. Once you change it to sport mode, the steering gets heavy. In fact, it gets considerably heavy post 100 kmph mark when you actually get the taste of the car, especially when you're driving it on the twists and turns, like we are doing it in the hills of Yelagiri in Tamil Nadu. And slot it on the sport mode, and you're going to have a good time driving this car, especially in the hills. And talking from the braking perspective, the braking is fine, but there is a bit of sponge effect from the brakes, and they could have been definitely better. That said, it's better than most of the cars, at least in this price bracket. Just that the effectiveness of the bite could have been slightly better. So the biggest USP of this Kiger is, in spite of this car being a tall boy design and having a really good ground clearance, one thing that you got to appreciate here for sure is that it's very easy to maneuver this car. And this is the reverse camera, the clarity of which could have been definitely better. It's a simple 3-point turn that we have taken here, in spite of this being a pretty narrow street or road. So we're talking about the gear shift. The first thing that I want to point out is the gear lever is quite far, which means that you might find some kind of trouble accessing the gear lever from the driver's seat. And the gear shifts are slightly notchy, but that said, the gear shifts are the gear shifts are short, and the clutch is also pretty short actually. It's lighter as well, which means that you might not face big challenges when you're shifting the gears in city. We actually drove the turbo petrol duster some time back, and that had a longer clutch, the gear shifts were longer, the throws were longer, and you just felt that it's an effort to drive the duster in the city compared to Kiger. Kiger is like way more easier compared to the duster to drive the car. And talking about the acceleration levels, the low end from the turbo petrol is really good. There is barely any turbo lag, and I'm so happy about the fact that Renault actually plonked in such a sweet 3-cylinder engine in this car. Of course, I would have loved it if it was a 4-cylinder engine, because 4-cylinder engines are a different breed altogether compared to 3-cylinder engines. But that said, we do understand the competition that the Kiger is currently catering to, and the turbo lag from this engine, again I would like to reiterate the fact that it's literally less. If you are shifting the gear suddenly, you don't even realize that the car is gasping for breath. It's that nice and good. So let's check out the horn. One thing that I really probably did not like a lot from the horn perspective is the horn is quite audible inside the cabin. Generally, a good horn will not be very audible inside the cabin. On the contrary, the horn will be audible outside the car, but here the horn is quite audible inside the car. That's it. The horn is decent enough considering that it's a compact SUV, if you want to call it. And that's about it from the drivability point of view.
The manual transmission nonetheless is without a doubt the best option for the Renault Kiger, especially when it's paired with the turbo petrol engine. The 5-4 ratios are optimized quite nicely to the torque speed of the turbo petrol. The Kiger can give you a slight torque steer and wheel spin through the third gear sometimes. The quality of gear shifts is good, which we will talk about during the course of the time. Renault has won accolades for ride quality in its cars across its range for years together. Solid, robust and extremely dependable. Almost every car they have introduced in a class has been able to offer the benchmark ride quality in that particular segment, and Kiger is absolutely no different. The MacPherson setup with the front end with the twist beam at the rear provides class-leading ride quality. It feels solidly planted, controls body roll extremely well and has almost negligible dive under very hard braking. Not that the Kiger loves to be pushed harder on the curves, but it's still well contained within its limits. The only problem arises when you get super ambitious on the curves and you are reminded of its slightly tallish body design. Overall, the Kiger is a very impressive package in the price it belongs to. It has all the attributes and parameters Renault has built their reputation on in India. It adds some more value to that with a good mix of features, attractive styling and a pretty good price tag as well. This makes the Kiger a very strong proposition for itself for people who are looking to venture into the automotive segment for the first time, and as well as the repeat buyers who want another car or probably second car in the garage, where the Kiger ticks all the boxes and makes a perfect choice.
So moving to the rear of the Kiger, the first thing that you realize is the seats are actually a bit hard, which means that you might be compromised with the comfort slightly, but that's it. You get adjustable headrest for the rear passengers, which is a good thing. Some of the manufacturers are omitting even in this price bracket. More importantly, you do get rear AC vents here, which isn't even found in the earlier sibling, the Duster, and the cooling and effectiveness of the AC vents is actually quite nice. The front seats get a door pocket, but talking about the legroom is more than adequate. There's abundant headroom, it's a tall boy design, and the under-thigh support is really good as well. So in a nutshell, it's one of the nicest cars that you can be practically at the rear. It's not those cars that make you feel claustrophobic, but there's only one thing that might make you feel claustrophobic. That's the windows are a bit heighted here, which means that the glass house area for the rear windows is lesser. And apart from that, you do get an armrest here with twin cup holders, which is again a nice thing. I humbly urge you to have some leather covers for these seats to get you a slightly more premium feel here in this car, because even in the top end variant you do not get leather seats in the Kiger. So talking about the front part of the Kiger, which is the front seats, the front seats are much more supportive than the back seats. Although they are hard, there is a bit of extra cushioning given for the front seats, which make a journeys more comfortable. But apart from that, talking about the quality of plastics, it's actually on par with what the segment has to offer, especially in this price bracket. I would like to reiterate that the plastics are hard, but that said, there's no compromise on the quality as such, although the plastics are hard, which means that they are very much livable. And talking about the control knobs here, so this is the control knob for the fan speed, which looks slightly less premium, and here you have the temperature setting here, which is actually better, and it feels more steady than the other two knobs that are there here. You get start stop button here. I would have really preferred that you get the start stop button in the right side. And apart from that, there are a couple of cubby spaces here, and this is a drive mode selector. But more importantly, one thing that I want to point out is you can have the complete view of the bonnet from Kiger, the cockpit of the Kiger, which is a really good thing. So this is the 1 liter turbo petrol engine of the Kiger, and firstly, you do not get a hydraulic struts for the bonnet, and that's totally fine considering the price bracket that this car belongs to. The top of the line RXZ retails at somewhere around 11.2 to 11.3 lakhs on road Bangalore, which is a good price considering what the Kiger has to offer. And that said, it's a 3-cylinder engine. We have detailed that in the drive as well. We would have really preferred that we got a 4-port engine here instead of the 3-port, because the NVH levels could have been far better in that.
The Renault Kiger is a handsome looking SUV, or rather a crossover. It grabs attention and cleverly uses a mix of butchy body panels and plastics to give a sense of toughness, and Renault has really managed to ace the design very well. The interiors of the Renault Kiger is impressive, especially from the practicality front. The cabin of the Kiger is tastefully appointed. It has good space, and the fit and finish of various components inside the cabin looks like they'll at least last for decades. A high seating position to make your drive elevated is a big welcome move, especially when you're talking about raised hatchbacks or crossovers. A 405 liter boot space is by far the best in class, which should help you stuff all the possible luggage for your weekend getaways. While features like wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard on this top spec RXZ variant, it also gets an 8-inch infotainment touchscreen system, the responsiveness of which is fair enough but could have been a lot more intuitive, especially when cars of this generation are getting some of the best infotainment systems we have ever seen in a very long time. It also gets a wireless charging pad, ambient lighting and digital instrument cluster. Some of the interior parts are shared with other Renault cars, like the steering wheel, which dilutes the premiumness, as this steering has been spotted since ages. It's high time for Renault to retire this and come up with a better steering wheel. Some controls like the air conditioning switches are borrowed from its sibling, the Magnite. Just for comparison, the Renault Kiger looks superiorly better in terms of fit and finish when you compare it to Magnite. The cup holders themselves can be removed from the bin, which makes it very easy for you to wash them in case you happen to spill your hot cuppa. The highlight of the cabin has to be the space, and that is one of the biggest USPs of the Kiger. It's one of the most spacious cabin you'll ever come across in a car of this dimensions. The biggest advantage of the CMF A Plus platform has to be the flat floor, which means all the passengers can have a flat floor and the fifth passenger will not have to fiddle his legs with either sides and rather comfortably place their legs on the ground.
So the bigger question is the Renault Kiger just another raced hatchback? Not exactly, because this is one of those rare cars which are definitely not going to be lost in your parking lot. The Kiger has a stance which is very inspiring, and not just this, a lot of future compact SUVs are going to take an inspiration from this. The Kiger might still lack a couple of features like the sunroof which are present in other compact SUVs in the segment, but that's not just about it. The Kiger does come with all the basic essentials that you would ever need at this price bracket. It gets Android Auto, it gets Apple CarPlay, and more importantly, there is one USP of this car which it is very proud about. That is the comfort it offers, especially in the rear seat, which nobody else even remotely comes closer to. That said, it's a clear winner that Renault already has in their hand. If there are a couple of things that they could improve on, it's the addition of fourth cylinder, which is sorely missing in this car, which make the driving experience slightly lethargic. That's about it. We really hope that Renault comes up with more such cars in the future, and more importantly, their Duster, which is a long due for facelift, gets a revamp very soon. If you guys like the video, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram. Take care and drive safe.